Hello, and welcome to the Beyond the Grove podcast. I'm your host, Michael Vincent, and this is a podcast for the community to highlight our alumni, our staff, and other key contributors to the Aspengrove community. We invite you to listen along as we release regular episodes aimed to keep you informed about our programs, provide interviews with alumni, staff, students, and parents, and to highlight key events and developments for the school. Episodes will be made available on the school website and in the e-newsletter. And a special thanks to Ojin Lee for the intro and outro music. Thanks for listening and enjoy the episode. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Beyond the Grove podcast. Today we have a very special episode, and for the first time ever, we have not one, but two alumni guests, and they happen to be sisters. So very excited to introduce today Megan Saunders and Nicole Saunders. How's it going?
Good, yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, this is awesome.
You're making Beyond the Grove history here, as we've never had two guests or two siblings, so this is pretty exciting. So do you want to tell the audience how long you've been at Aspengrove and what years you each graduated?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Megan. I was at the school, I think, for about 15 years, I guess, and I graduated in 2022.
Hi, I'm Nicole, and I was also a lifer at Aspengrove, so probably around 15 years, and I graduated just last year in 2024.
And do you mind saying where you decided to both go after high school for university?
Yeah, so I made the decision first. I chose to go to McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. And where'd Nicole go?
I decided to go to the exact same place, McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, so following in your footsteps a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. And can you talk a bit about the programs that you're doing there?
Yeah, definitely. So the two of us are in the same program. It's a pretty unique program. It's called, the full government name is Integrated Biomedical Engineering and Health Sciences.
Wow.
Short form, iBio. I don't think I've ever said the long
It's
version.
a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, but it's basically a program that kind of combines biomedical engineering and health sciences, as well as any engineering discipline. So through the program, you can kind of choose your specialization. So I went through the program and I chose the specialization of electrical engineering. So with that, I'm kind of taking a mix of electrical engineering courses, biomedical engineering courses, and also health sciences courses.
Yeah, and then for me, I was just finishing my first year, where you're doing mostly general first-year engineering courses, very similar to the students in just the general engineering stream as well. And then at the end of this year, we essentially had to fill out a ranking of all of our choices to decide what stream we wanted to go into next year. And I've decided to do mechanical engineering.
Cool. So similar program, but in different...
slightly different streams.
Different streams.
Yeah.
So for the audience who maybe they are not science-minded or engineering-minded, can you just give an example of the type of thing you might work on or might produce in your program?
Yeah, so I would say with electrical engineering is a very broad degree, so really people end up in all sorts of places. You learn coding in electrical engineering, so I know people who've maybe gone to Google to work in more of the software front. I know people who've gone to hardware companies to work on, different hardware things, computers, all sorts of different kind of tech things. And then also a lot of people go into the power industry, so working at places, say maybe Fortis BC, BC Hydro, places like that.
Wow. And Nicole?
Well, for me, this first year, I was mostly just working on simple, basic biomedical engineering. So one of my favorite projects we did this year was definitely our hip implant project.
Oh, wow.
So essentially designing, we received a client who had a certain condition, and we had to design a hip implant to help them with their condition. So that I really enjoyed, looking at the different forces that might be acting on different parts of the joint or the bone, and then deciding based on that what kind of materials we wanted to use or anything of the sorts. So that was mostly what I was working on this year. And then looking to mechanical engineering, I think there was this one paper I read of this mechanical engineering master's student, actually, who was doing a sort of mechanical biomedical joint project, where he looked at shields, handheld shields, and applied different forces to them to see how these forces would translate to the arm of the user, and seeing depending on the design of the shield, how that might damage the person's bone structure or tissue or whatever. And I just thought that was a really cool application of biomedical engineering with mechanical engineering with ballistics, which I never thought was possible, but I just thought that was a really cool project and really cool application of biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering. So that definitely really piqued my interest initially.
It's such an interesting hybrid. And I think people always think of like, oh, I'm going to be like a doctor or a lawyer, but just hearing the ways that students go on and like the melding of different fields together that's very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So as you both decided to go out east for school, do you mind maybe outlining the pros and cons for students who are maybe considering doing university more locally versus people who are open to maybe going further afar?
Yeah, definitely. I would say kind of a pro to going, whether it is completely out east or maybe, just out of province in general, wherever that may be, or out of country. I really think if you are thinking of maybe living in a different place, working in a different place, university is a really, really good opportunity to pursue that, because there's not really going to be that many times in your life where, you're going to move to a completely different location and, what you're going to be doing is pretty lined up. You'll probably have housing lined up if, you're in residence at the school. You're going to be surrounded by a lot of, like-minded people who are also looking to make friends. So, and there's going to be supports in place. So I really think a big pro for it is it's just a really good opportunity. I would say if you are considering living farther away from home. But there are obviously, downsides to it as well. I think our flights back are always like 5 hours or so.
Full day of traveling, essentially.
Yeah, so it definitely is more difficult to see, family and friends back home, obviously. A good thing about that, though, is that it means that when we are back home, we try to spend that time really intentionally, because we don't come home super often. So when we are home, we really try and make the most of that time, and so that really ends up being really valuable.
This week being a perfect example, as you're here for only a few more days, right? Then you have to go back again?
Yeah, so we've been trying to spend lots of time with family and friends, of course. But yeah, definitely similar pros to going somewhere else for university is, you definitely gain a greater sense of independence, but that is to be expected with university in general. But yeah, I think a lot of the appeal for me going all the way out east was just the fact that I've lived in Canada my whole life, but I really haven't explored a whole lot of the country, I found. And I thought it would be a really great opportunity for me to spend a few years exploring more of like Ontario or even Quebec area. And just, exploring more of the country, finding my own sense of independence, and, just learning more about myself that way. But again, cons. It is definitely harder to travel all the way back home. We've rarely been able to visit, but it is definitely nice to have those rare moments where we're able to spend time with our family, see friends again. And it's cool to meet people from a different part of the country, and as well people that may be international students or other out-of-province students as well, and just, meet new people. So I found that really enjoyable.
No, those are all great points. And like Megan, I think you're right. It's difficult as an adult to like just up and move somewhere and uproot your entire life. So going to university is maybe an easy time where you could go and explore. And then, Nicole, have you been able to travel around out east, or are you pretty much in Hamilton most of the time? Or that could be for either of you.
Well, most of the time, especially with first year just being very busy and a little bit overwhelming, I've mostly been in Hamilton, but I have been able to spend a decent amount of time in like the Toronto area, and just like exploring some parts of Hamilton. But definitely in like my upper years, I hope to maybe take trips to like Quebec or even to like the States and just exploring the area with my friends. So. Yeah.
So is there any negotiation that has to happen like with your parents in terms of like, do they want you to come back more often or less often, or how do you decide like how many times and when you're going to come back?
I think it really just is, what ends up working best for all our schedules. We don't really have a set, amount of times that, we come home or anything like that. And over the past few years, actually, our parents have also flown out to visit us, which has been really nice because it's nice to see them without having to travel 5 hours. They did all the kind of work with that. But we try to come back, obviously Christmas, holidays, and then apart from that, when we have reading weeks, we try to come back for at least one of those. So that's been really nice. But it's nice when they come out and visit us.
Yeah, you guys are good at visiting the school, so we often get to see you, I think, when you come back. So, and it seems like it's been more than some people coming back.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I know, I have a lot of friends who are from Ontario, from the GTA area, and they also don't really go home that often, or about the same as me. So I guess it's just, what works for everybody individually.
Awesome. So you're kind of unique in that I can't, off the top of my head anyways, think of two siblings that went to the same school far away from each other. So what's it like? Do you actually get to see each other? Do you live together? What do you find in terms of seeing each other at school?
Yeah, so this year, for my first year, I was living in residence. But we would still see each other around pretty frequently, just around campus, especially being in the same program. We'd see each other studying at the library or whatever. And we were in a musical together, so
I was going to ask you about that.
through that. Yep. But yeah, it was mostly just around campus occasionally. We were also on an intramural team together, so we'd see each other about every Monday or every Tuesday for that. But now that my first year's over and I moved out of residence, I'm moving into the apartment with Megan. So we'll be living together for the next few years, which I'm very excited about.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So what intramural team did you play on?
Ooh, it's inner tube water polo.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah. Okay, sweet.
It's definitely a very university-specific sport. I think we take it very seriously. It's pretty funny. It's funny because, nobody's done it before. So everybody's kind of coming in just learning it, because I find with a lot of other intramurals, I did ultimate intramurals my first year, is that you have people who were maybe on really high performing high school teams, so there really is a variation in skill there. But with inner tube water polo, everybody's just kind of there to have a good time, there to splash around in the water, but we take it really seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that sounds super fun. Is that a uniquely McMaster intramural?
No, it's quite popular at many universities actually. I've found that doing research in grade 12 into different clubs or teams that different universities would have, a lot of them were actually advertising for inner tube water polo, which is really interesting.
I don't think I've ever seen inner tube water polo, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't heard of it, but I guess because it's just so accessible for pretty much anyone to try, it's been very popular and it's a lot of fun.
Sweet. So I was going to ask you about the musical. So I did some musical theater back in the day, and I remember it being very time consuming, especially as you're leading up to doing the shows. So as people who are in intensive academic programs and also competitive inner tube water polo players, how is it trying to find the time to do that? And what do you recommend for students when they go to university in terms of trying to do well in school, but then also do these other rewarding things?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, my time management has definitely really improved a lot over the university, because this is the third year that I've been in the musical. And kind of as part of the production in the middle of March, we do have to take a full week off of school because our theater that we perform at is off campus. So we're not on campus for a full week. We get kind of a special form where we can defer any assignments or exams or midterms or anything like that. And so with that, obviously you have to make sure that you kind of have everything set up before you have to take that week off. That way you don't come back after that week and, be super stressed, be super worried. I think it really does help because the musical we're in is specifically the engineering musical. So, you're surrounded by people who have very similar time commitments to you, who have a lot of things going on in their lives. And so I think that really makes all of the time that we do spend on the musical very productive, because people know, we can't just be kind of standing around doing nothing. We have things to do, and we also have academic things to do, homework to do. So it really makes, I think, our time really, really efficient. And then in terms of how I would encourage students to spend their time, I think for me, because obviously taking a week off of university when you're in an engineering degree, it is a sacrifice, and it does mean that you maybe come back and maybe you write a bad midterm, or maybe you couldn't put as much effort into an assignment as you might have wanted to. I think my mentality with the whole thing is that when I graduate, when I look back on my university experience, a few years down the line, am I going to remember doing a bit more poorly on a midterm, or am I going to remember, being involved in a musical that was super rewarding, that I really enjoyed. So I think it's really important in university, because obviously academics should be a priority. That's, what you're there to do. But I think it's also important to make memories, do the things that you find valuable outside of school, because at the end of the day, university has a lot of opportunities for you that might not be available in other places. And so it's important to take advantage of those.
No, that's a great perspective, and definitely speaks to, I think, how you guys were at Aspengrove as well, doing great academically, but also doing these other things. And Nicole, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, definitely a very similar opinion, because being on cast, our rehearsals would be, in second semester at least, it would be every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, from about 9:30 a.m. to maybe 5 p.m. So essentially in second semester, I kind of lost my weekends to rehearsal, which definitely was a challenge with academics. But again, like Megan said, looking back, I don't remember doing just okay on a midterm or whatever. I remember having a bunch of fun with my castmates and just having really awesome weekends, because maybe after rehearsal I'd be stressed about being a little busy. But while I was at rehearsal, I was just having a great time and having so much fun. So yeah, definitely going into university, there are so many more opportunities that you might not have had access to in high school. So, for example, coming from a small school, it was often difficult for us to always put on like a musical theater production. And I hadn't been in part of a production since 8th grade when Matilda was canceled due to COVID. So it was really amazing just being able to go to university and pick up an older hobby that I never thought I would be able to pursue again. So it was really great being able to have that opportunity in university. And I definitely recommend to anyone going into their first year to just really explore all the clubs and opportunities available to you, because you might not get that opportunity again, and there's just always so much available to you at university.
Yeah, I was super impressed when I heard you were doing that, and I thought, oh, that's bold, because I think I would have been chickened out and wanted to just focus on school, but good for you. And I think I know the answer to this question, but I guess you would do it again if there was another musical next year?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I've been in it for the past 3 years, and I took on a leadership role this year on the executive team, which was really rewarding. I do think, too, in any club, any society that you're joining, if you do kind of try and take on more of a leadership position in the future, I think that's also super important, skills to learn, skills to pick up, because, you're going to learn a lot of things academically, but it's also important in university to work on your soft skills, working on communication, collaboration, organization, and even just learning about yourself and how you behave in a leadership context. So I think, there's also a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, no, those are all great points. I was hoping to ask you just a few Aspengrove related questions before we go, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. So what would your best advice be for current Aspengrove students, whether that be academically or a life balance thing?
I would say kind of in line with what we have talked about is don't get pigeonholed on just doing school, and definitely like seek out opportunities. I think as well, seeking out opportunities to ask for advice, ask for help from the teachers specifically, I think, because, the thing with Aspengrove that you really don't get at a university is really that close-knit relationship that you can form with your teachers, because, professors in university, it's not that they don't care about you, but they maybe don't know who you are. They don't know, what your unique learning needs are and things like that. And you do get that here at Aspengrove. So I would say definitely I would encourage current students to, use their teachers as resources. Because, you guys have a lot of years of experience, a lot of years of wisdom. And I think a lot of students maybe don't capitalize on that. So, not being afraid to talk to your teachers, they're people too. And, you guys want, your students to succeed.
Awesome. Nicole?
Yeah, well, I would also say make sure that you're staying balanced and not just focusing purely on school, pursuing extracurriculars. And then for those looking to post-secondary, don't be afraid to, maybe go somewhere new that you haven't really explored yet, or somewhere outside of your comfort zone, out of province, or even internationally, because I think it has been a very rewarding experience and has given me a lot of opportunity to grow and find my independence. So yeah, I would definitely recommend going somewhere far, but again, it is everyone's personal choice. But yeah, just making sure to stay balanced and really take advantage of all the opportunities available to you.
Awesome. No, that's great. And I want to finish with, did you have a favorite memory from Aspengrove? And you were both here for a long time, so there's probably a lot of content to draw from, but...
I think this was a pretty common one that a lot of my graduating class said, but I think definitely the international trips to like Europe in 2023 and Costa Rica last year in 2024, I think were definitely highlights. Getting able to spend time with my class in maybe like a non-academic context and experiencing like this new culture and really spending time together, traveling, having lots of fun. I thought it was really a really enriching experience and a good time.
If I put you on the spot, did you have a favorite between going to Europe or going to Costa Rica?
Ooh, I think I liked Costa Rica more, just because I'm the kind of person who likes a more like tropical getaway. But Europe was really fun to practice our French, and explore like that kind of culture because I had never been to Europe before. But yeah, going to France and Spain, it was fun. But yeah, I think I did enjoy Costa Rica more. But they were both a lot of fun.
Nice. And Megan?
I mean, my class never got an opportunity to go on an international trip, but I think similarly, I would say my most fond memories of Aspengrove would have to be the Strathcona outdoor education trips. I think it was just really cool, to get out there, maybe do something that, was a little bit scary. We climbed up Mount Myra, which I think, seems really intimidating, and I don't know if I would have done that on my own. So being able to do that, with my friends, with the teachers, that was really, really cool. I have a lot of really, really fond memories from that.
That's awesome. And that's such a common trend I find when I ask alumni that question. They almost always say like Strathcona or a trip, even though students seem to grumble about Strathcona a little bit, like, oh, like it's going to be hard and we're going to be outside and we're going to be hungry.
Definitely not for everyone.
It's a lot of work, but it seems like in hindsight, it tends to stand out. So
I think you bond through struggles.
Definitely.
yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome. So thank you very much for coming in today. We are out of time, but it was nice to see you both, and I appreciate you sharing a microphone today. Was there anything that you wanted to plug or say, or any projects or anything that you want to shout out?
I don't think I have anything.
Oh, I would shout out LinkedIn.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to speak to that for a second?
Yeah. I think quickly, because I really didn't know this in high school, but, if you are looking, for professional development opportunities, I would really encourage students in high school at this age to start working on, their resumes, their LinkedIns, things like that, because it just makes it a lot easier. That way you don't have to kind of go through and backdate everything and kind of remember, like what did I do in high school? Like what achievements did I have? Like what was I involved in? I think, getting yourself set up for success in the future, I think you can, it's just small things like that you can start doing in high school.
That is really smart, because it is sometimes hard to think back 5-10 years, like, oh yeah, what did I do? So if you're just doing it as you go, yeah, I like that. Thank you. Well, thank you both for coming in. It was really nice to chat with you, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure taking you beyond the Grove. The show is hosted, produced, and edited by Mike Vincent and is an Aspengrove School production. Special thanks to Stu Setch for his generous contributions of equipment and expertise towards the creation of this podcast. Also thanks to Ojin Lee for the intro and outro music. You can find his other works on Spotify by searching for Ojin. Please stay tuned for future episodes as we continue to bring you highlights of all the exciting things happening in the AGS community. From all of us at Aspengrove School and me, your host, Mike Vincent, thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Grove. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.